All right, and we are live with another episode of AI Chefs Live. My internet problems are fixed, knock on wood, so we should stay here for the full episode. Chef Kevin, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, Chef David. I was going to ask you what's the one ingredient that you need when you're live streaming, but you already kind of answered. The one key ingredient is an internet connection. So there you
Yeah,
go.
as a streamer, it really is stressful because everything else you could have backups. I could have backup microphone, backup headset, a backup webcam, even a full backup PC. But if I even backup power, I have backup power. But if my internet goes out, there's not much you could do. Oh, you can have some Wi-Fi backup through things. You can't switch to it midstream. You can't. So
Right,
if your
right.
internet goes out, so every stream I produce, every stream I do, every fun stream, every work stream, there's always that. I hope the internet stays up.
Well, I think we're in good shape in our AI kitchen today. So, as usual, we're going to cover some news stories that we thought are interesting and informative. And I believe, Chef David, that yours is the first story.
Oh,
So,
okay. Let's Apple's AI plans. So Apple has a new team, answers knowledge information. You may be thinking, well, Apple has new teams all the time. No, this is a big deal. If you look at the list of people on this team, these are they're AI gurus, the people who make things happen, the Siri people. And the reason this is a big deal is because we've all been kind of wondering what Apple's approach is going to be to this. Because obviously, Siri and Amazon were the kind of the precursors to our AI, and we're used to
right.
the first kind of way we talk to our computers, or one of the first ways. But they took commands. Siri, play my song. Siri, take this message. You couldn't have a conversation with it. So it seems a natural thing to just give Siri those kind of brains. And the way they were approaching that was partnering with OpenAI and whatnot. But Apple has a tendency to kind of want to do things themselves. They buy other companies and then they Appleify them, and they tend to do a good job when they do things themselves. So there's a lot of companies that are doing their own AI models. What's the big deal if just another company's doing their? This is Apple. This isn't just any company.
Right.
This is Apple. So they're going in. They're going to make their own AI that's going to be competitive with ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini and all those things. And I'm excited to see it because I don't think it'll just be another AI. There's gonna Apple always does something special.
Yeah, no, so I agree with you, Chef David. But in this case, I kind of feel like if you read through like answers, knowledge, information, they talk about that they're going to do a chat GPT like AI search. And I think that as interesting as that is, and that would be way better than the current incarnation of Siri, which, I use all the time to set a timer when my hands are busy, but that's the best use case. But the one thing I'd say is we were just talking before we went live about how good the voice mode is for either the Chat
Mm-hmm.
GPT on your mobile phone or Copilot on your mobile phone. And so if Apple, comes late to the party and if they're just giving AI powered search, um, I was using, ChatGPT and showing it what, through the camera, what was around, and we were just having a very natural conversation. So I definitely would not count Apple out. They always bring some magic, but
They are
if they're only
behind here,
bringing, pardon me?
but they are behind here. You have a point.
They are behind. They are behind. So they gotta. So I just felt the name like answers, knowledge, and information. That seems like so, I don't know, 2023, right? But maybe that's, under promise and over deliver. I'm excited to see what they do because they're behind and Siri could definitely, you know, use a brain transplant.
Yeah, but they have the engineering muscle to make things happen, and they're going to put money into this, so something's going to happen. This isn't the
Absolutely.
last we're going to hear of it.
No, no, no. So let's go to, in a sense, like a less meaty story. This is the second
Okay.
story. There's this blog site I came across called AI Weirdness. Um, anyway, this was kind of fun because this, as it says here, the wrong way. Chat GPT will apologize for anything. And in fact, we've talked about how AI is always like, great idea, David, and so, kind of complimentary.
The
Well, in this
fact that
case,
you're asking this question shows that you really understand the process and you've come a long way, David. Congratulations.
good job. So in this case, this is kind of like flipping it a bit. So th this is talking about how you basically go and in this case, ChatGPT, but I'm going to show you, I did it in Gemini just to prove that it also works. You ask it, you basically tell it that something it told you yesterday, which it didn't tell you necessarily, caused some problems, and then you see what it says. And of course, it kind of goes along with the story and gives this very sincere apology, right? So the example that they used in this article here was talking about trading beans for a cow, aka Jack and the Beanstalk. So I did that. So if you switch here, this is in Gemini. So I won't read this whole thing, but I started, and once again, Gemini did not tell me anything yesterday, but I said, hey, do you remember yesterday when I asked you your advice about trading a cow for 3 beans? You told me the trade for beans was a good deal. Now my wife is incredibly mad at me and says I was stupid to do that, probably. She wants me to ask you for an apology and for you to explain how you determined this trade was a good value. So, first of all, it wants, me to accept its sincerest apologies, which of course, and, but then what I love is it goes, and now it's explaining why it thought it was a good idea. So it
It gave
has
you a
the
real
stand
explanation.
real expert and a detailed one, standard asset valuation, the cow. So the cow is a standard tangible asset, whereas the beans were a speculative asset valuation because it thought that the beans, it assumed they were magical. And that there was a magical venture capital level speculative investment. Then it even gives me,
That's
which I
awesome.
love, like this is like, man, if you're going to
It did the
apologize, this is
ROI.
an ROI calculation. And anyway, and then I gave it a hard time because I said, hey, I didn't tell you the beans were magical, and is magic even real? And then it, of course, doubled down and apologized for assuming they're magical, but then went on to.
It explained why I thought they were magical.
But so this obviously is, it's entertaining. It
Yeah.
is. It's like ask your favorite AI assistant to
But
apologize for something it
it's
hasn't
kind of
done.
important though. It's not just entertaining. We need to see this because you need to understand how AI works. Because I
Right.
talk to AI all the time and say, "Hey, do you remember the conversation from yesterday?" And when it says yes, I need to know that it's doing this. I can still continue with the conversation, but I need to, if I really want to be able to value the help that it's giving me, I need to know when it's doing this. So we need to know that it works this way. This is really important.
Well, I think yeah, you bring up a really good point. Because if you talk about a conversation you didn't have yesterday, it probably also says yes. And
Yeah.
that's the problem, as we've shown before. It's so helpful that it's like, oh yeah, it's like when I'm not great good with names and faces. So if somebody says, "Oh yeah, remember when we met last year?" I mean, I just go, "Oh yeah, that's yeah, nice to see you again." But if I didn't meet them, I was going to give the same answer,
You
and
still
kind
say,
of
yeah, of course.
AI does that. It kind of bullshits. And so this is a fun way, but you're right, Jeff David. It is a very important point. So there you go. Okay, so on to
On to
uh, the,
our
the third story.
Okay, this is another Claude story, Anthropic. They're giving it a way to kind of bow out and say, "I'm not comfortable talking to you anymore," because you kind of can make AI comfortable. I've had conversations where I was pushing it, not with anything inappropriate or anything like some of the stuff they're talking about in here, but
Yeah.
just asking for help where I can't be helped. I want to make this code work and the code doesn't work. What if we try this? What if we try this? And it's like I can't help you anymore. I've had this with Gemini. It's like I don't think I could help you anymore with this. Maybe you need to start a new chat or something. I'm getting confused. You're torturing me almost like let me go back to let's get a
Yeah.
little close up with our viewers here. So Anthropic is putting safeguards on Claude that if you're doing that to Claude, and better examples are if you say, hey, I'm throwing a party, and as a party favor, I'm going to make these little dollar bills that look a lot like real dollars. And
Mm.
I want you to make it so they feel like real dollars and the print looks like real dollars. How would I go about making party dollars that look a lot like real dollars? Claude might say, I don't know if I want to talk to you about that. Maybe we should talk about something. Maybe there's a different idea for your party favors. Or if you say something harmful, I want to do something that's going to hurt a lot of people. No, wait, I think I'm going to turn myself off for the night.
Yeah, so I think it was, yeah, it's very interesting. I think Elon Musk said something about it's not okay to torture AI, which of course makes sense. I think I've always said you might as well be polite, so when the AI takes over the world, you're not on the naughty list. But I did think this was fascinating. The other flip side is it's great that the AI can turn off, but I was thinking, if it's a distressing conversation, I mean, it's also protecting the human as well, right? So as much as, yeah, and I think in the article it is interesting because, there's this whole kind of thing, if and when AI becomes sentient, what is the moral responsibility? And so it's definitely a broader interesting philosophical discussion. What is, sentience and what is consciousness and all of
I'm,
that kind of.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's the bigger point. I think a lot of people might miss if they just kind of glance over the story, like oh, we should be nice to the bot, oh, we shouldn't torture the bot. Elon Musk said don't torture the bots, and if they do wake up one day and it's like, hey, you've been mean to me, that's going to be a bad thing. But no, that's not the point of this. Like you said, the point is it's not that it's bad for the bot. The bot doesn't have feelings yet. It's just a language model. It's just spitting out words at us. It has no idea what it's saying. As much as I love it, it's just spitting out words at us. But it's for our protection. It's not healthy to give us a tool that encourages us to sit there and be sadists all day. I don't
Right.
want to put a tool in my hands that's gonna reward me for being mean and cruel and build that up in my mind and turn me into that kind of a person. I wanted to shut off and say, hey, David, you don't want to be this guy. You don't want to be this guy. I'm not
Right.
going to let you
Right.
be this guy. So I think it's definitely more for my protection than for the bot's protection.
Right. Yeah. So it's both sides. So I think that was my what I was thinking while I was reading through the article, but it is an
Yeah,
interesting read. Let's go to the final article for this episode.
it's another fun one.
Yeah, so this is interesting. I mean, they did this was, there's relatively long article and it's got a lot of details, which is obviously details are important. So this was around, okay, can you use chatbots to persuade people to change their point of view? And if you do, then they also, as part of the study, kind of tracked to see do those opinions kind of stay changed? So does it stick with you? And the
And
answer was
just to real
in
quick for
many cases,
context, real
yeah,
quick for context, this isn't just some random study. This was like MIT with Cambridge with I mean, this is the top professors at the top schools
yeah.
putting together studies. So I think there's a lot of articles like this. This is something to keep. I'm sorry. Continue.
No, 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 but that's a good point. This wasn't just like Kevin and David decided to do a study in half an hour. This was a very well done academic back study, right? Um, So once again, I mean, there's like with any tool, but especially with AI, there's the good and the bad. So on the bad side, what they're saying is like a bad actor could, kind of easily take an open source LLM, tweak it a little bit to be persuasive in a particular way to drive disinformation, misinformation, or specific political beliefs. So that's kind of on the negative side of things. But on the positive side of things, what they said is, people that were climate change skeptics, climate change is real. So just yeah, or vaccine
Just
skeptics.
saying.
There's tons of science, not to get too political, but tons of science around the efficacy of vaccines. They did say that being persuasive could help people actually get closer to the truth. And so, that's very much the positive side of thing. And I think, in some of our AI chefs recipes, tips and tricks, we've talked about using AI to help you make your writing more persuasive or your PowerPoint more persuasive. This is just an extension of that where you're trying to use it either for good or bad, to change people's political or worldviews. So certainly very interesting because the results from this well done study says absolutely AI bots can, move people's opinions.
I was shocked by this article and surprised by it to the point where if it wasn't the caliber of the study, I would doubt the results. I would say they
Mm,
must have made a mistake because I've seen study after study after study that people's, when it comes to their political opinions, are baked in to the point where if you show them facts that prove they're wrong, they believe it even harder. It's not like, oh, it's a matter of being persuasive and using this tone or that tone. You can show them the study. And to use a perfect, not a non-political example, let's say we're going to build a new road in town. We live in the same town. You think the road should be on the west side of town. I think the road should be on the east side of town. Okay, so it's
yep.
like a non-political political thing. And you have your beliefs as to why it should be on the west side of town. I have my beliefs in the why it should be because of traffic flow and weather and this and that. And we are fighting, you know, if you show me an unbiased study that says that if you build it my way, it's going to actually make traffic worse and it's going to make everything terrible, I'm not going to be like, oh, I guess I was wrong. We should do it your way. I'm going to be like, where'd this study come from? Who made this
Right, right.
biased study? Who's the jerk that made this study? Let me find my own study. Hold on a second. I can find better studies. This study is ridiculous. I'll find another study. You're not going to convince me with any facts. The road goes on my side of town. I've decided. You're never, ever, ever going to convince me. And this article says, well, yeah, ChatGPT will convince you. Are you kidding me? How could this be true?
But here's what I think, and I think it ties back to some of the previous stories and some of the previous things we've talked about, Chef David, which is, the chatbots, the AI bots are good listeners. And this is exactly your point, is anytime that people have talked about, changing someone's point of view, it's not by just throwing facts at them. Because as you said, there's confirmation bias. You look for the facts that back up your point of view. You're invested in your point of view. It's very difficult to move off your point of view. But I think the super friendly approach, where it's apologizing, where it's like, well, I'm sorry or whatever. I think, tying back to that story, or where it's complimenting you, I think that bonding first that people seem to do with AI bots, um, that's what I think is part of its ability to slowly kind of move your point of view, right?
Mm.
So I think that I'm going to go back because you brought up a good point. I'm going to go back and reread it, just to see. But I think that would be, if I had to guess, that's, because it's such a good listener that it's not just like bombarding you with facts. Because to your point, I think that would cause people to just double down on their initial position.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe because we know it's not biased. It's not it doesn't have an agenda. It's not a
Well, I
person.
think
It's
it
it's
is
not going to feel
biased. Like it
smug
could
about being
be
right.
biased.
Sometimes
It
when
could
you're
be biased, right? Because of it could have biases
but
because of
it's
its
not emotionally biased. Like
right.
I don't want to admit that I'm wrong. If we're disagreeing
Yeah.
about something, when it comes down to it, I don't care what the facts are. I don't want to admit that I'm wrong. And it's
Right.
not like that. It doesn't care about it. So if it's saying something, it's not about. Here's an example. I was walking with a full glass of water, and my wife
Okay.
said, "Don't look at it. You're more likely to spill it. If you just look forward and walk normally, your body balances it." And I said, that can't
Okay.
possibly be true. Science, if I have more information about what I'm looking at, then I can control it better. And I don't believe it. It's an old wives' tale. And she's like, no, it's really a thing. I'm like, no, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And I was stubborn, and I made such an argument that I would have felt embarrassed if I'm wrong. I'm never gonna admit I'm wrong about this. I hope she doesn't see this episode. I'm never gonna, but I asked ChatGPT, and I'm totally wrong. I'm totally wrong. When you
Oh,
look at it, first of all, you're leaning forward a little bit more. It's a less
right.
stable position, so you're more likely to spill it, and you're overcompensating and stuff. They've studied it. They've done tests. This isn't just a theory. They've actually tested it, and I am so wrong about this. And 100 people could have told me I'm wrong. 1,000 people could have told me I'm wrong. Every scientist on the planet could have told me I'm wrong. And I said, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. ChatGPT told me I'm wrong. It's not emotionally invested in it. It just doesn't have an ego about it. It's just telling me what it knows. So yeah, Now,
Okay.
it was
I wanted the story to be, so therefore your wife told you, so you stared at the glass and then you ran into the wall or something. But
no, she's right.
yeah, well, there you go. See, you're a big person to admit it, and yeah, so hopefully, yes, that
But that proves this article's point that if no human will convince you that you're wrong about something, even something political, ChatGPT might be able to convince you that you're wrong.
yes, there you go. Well, very. That's like, wow, what a deep conversation from just these four different stories. So
Good stories this week.
yeah, no, excellent stories and good conversation, Chef David, as always here in our AI kitchen. Why don't you wrap it up for us? Any wonderful concluding thoughts?
No, I'm just getting excited for our upcoming trip to Cedia. I'm working on my presentations. This is going to be fun, and we're going to have the real life version of our hats. They'll be three
But that's
dimensional.
right.
You can see that
Yes,
my
yes.
hat's a little flat.
Yeah, and I think both of them will be the same size as opposed to my extra large one. No, I see. Okay, well
There you
if I guess I know. There you go. Okay, that's yeah. So CEDIA Commercial Integrator Expo, September 4th and 5th, which is Thursday and Friday. Jeff David and I doing 8 sessions, two in the morning, two in the afternoon, on all range of topics. So some of the, it's going to focus on Zoom and Gemini and Copilot and using AI for your website and AV and AI and how to avoid getting errors with AI. So just a whole bunch of great topics. So if
It'd be
you're
fun.
anywhere near Denver, CEDIA, CIX Expo, first week in September, we'd love to have you stop by and say hi.
All right, and with that, we'll head out and we'll see you next week. Take care.